Hey, good afternoon everybody. Welcome to the Naughty Donkey channel. Hey, today we're just going to do something pretty simple for most of you guys, but not everybody knows the basics. So we're just going to do a oil change on a 2020 Silverado with a 6.2. And in case anybody's unsure how to do it at home or whatever, or like me, very first oil change, truck booked for 67 grand when I bought it, took it into the dealership and brought it home and had oil leaking all over the driveway because the morons couldn't even tighten the filter properly. So had to take it in for a leaking fuel injector later on as well. And at that time they cut the whole wiring loom loose and left it hanging. So the dealership is out in my book. From now on, Naughty Donkey only touching this baby. So the few tools you're going to need. You're going to need a, for a 6.2 liter, probably 5.3 is the same. You're going to need a 15 millimeter socket, and I'm just using a ratchet because I can reach up in there easier. A end wrench will work on this, but this is just easier for me. So 3/8 drive ratchet, extension 15 millimeter. Then you're going to need a filter wrench possibly. I won't because I can muscle it off of there, but if you can't, get a filter wrench. This one's pretty good because it'll fit a bunch of different sizes and it has some good grippy teeth in it. This is what's very common. Just make sure you get the size. If you get one of these, that'll fit around your filter. Okay, so you need one size smaller. It will pinch down some, but I've got a bunch of them in the garage. Anyway, standard AC Delco filter. Yes, there's better ones. Yes, there's worse ones. They'd have a hard time getting away from the warranty with this. And I generally, you know, I don't run it that far between oil changes anyway. At the very most, I get down to 30%. Some oil. And this, I'm not working for Walmart, guys, and I was suspicious of Super Tech oil as well. But it is Dexos approved. And when I looked it up, this is actually made by, I believe, the oldest private refinery in the country. So it was very highly rated product. And why not save the bucks in this Biden economy right now? So I'd put that up against Mobil 1 or any of the fancy stuff. Maybe AMSOIL or Royal Purple might beat it, but otherwise, pretty good stuff. You're going to need a funnel to fill the oil. Also, to drain from your giant drain bucket. Ta-da! If you use a little one, guys, you're probably going to splash around. So I just put the big monster under there. It's flexible so I can squeeze it in to pour things in the funnel back into the jugs. So keep these so you can pour that crap back in them. Then I always keep a little bit of absorbent close by in case I make a little mess. I can throw it in there right away and not mess up my driveway too bad. And then some extra paper towels for your hands. Just take a couple of these underneath there with you. You're going to need them. It's going to run down your arm a little bit when you open the drain plug, and possibly a little more when you take out the filter. So just be prepared. This way you can wipe off all the surfaces, you know, when it's done, and make sure it's super clean and nice. So that's it, guys. Now all we got to do is slip on our coveralls, crawl under there, and get with it. Okay, guys, so we're underneath, and so this is the oil drain plug, this is the oil pan, and this is the oil filter. So everything we're going to do is right in this area. So first thing we got to do is get on there, set your ratchet for left, because right is tight, left is loose. So just give her a little love, and it should bust loose pretty easily. There you go. And now just spin her out of there and keep pushing into the oil pan as you're screwing it out, if that makes sense. Otherwise, if you're not pushing in and holding on, it's probably going to drop down in this big bucket and make a hell of a mess for you. So then jiggle it a couple times, you'll see when it's loose, and then you're going to want to pull it out of there real fast so you don't run too much of it down your arm once it's loose. Okay, we're there. Here we go. See what I mean, guys? So you're not running it all up and down your arm, just a little bit on your hand here. So then I usually just get my rag up in there and try to keep the mess in one area. Set your plug down on your other clean rag, and I can wipe all the crap off my hands before I start touching anything else. Okay, so I'm just going to let this all drain out, you know, as much as it's going to drip, really. Every little tiny drop isn't necessary, but get it pretty empty. Then we'll slip the plug back in there, and before I try to get this out. Otherwise, I'm just going to end up with this crap all over me from fooling with this too close. So just let it drain out for a minute, maybe take a break, and I'll show you a little trick out here real quick. Okay, so this is a little trick that I learned working with an old timer up in the North Slope in the oil fields. We were changing oil on some equipment, and he said, "Johnny, how much oil's in that filter?" And I said, "None." And he said, "How much oil's in that filter when you start the rig up?" And I said, "Well, none." And he said, "Yeah, there's no oil circulating until it fills that and gets it rolling." So ever since then, I've been priming, basically just pour some oil slowly into the filter, and usually I just let it get up to the real top there, real slow, and then it'll actually lower the level in there as it fills the pleating. Then just take a little bit and run it around the rubber ring here, and that'll just make it have a better seal for you. So again, it's not necessary to fill this all the way to the brim, you know, but you definitely want to prime it. It just makes sense to me. You know, you're gonna have instant oil pressure, so that's a good thing to have. Seconds without it, it's not a good idea. That's why they put baffles in race car engine oil pans. So when you hit the corner, it's not starving even for a second. So you can see it's got a bunch of oil in there now, and that'll help us a lot on the startup. So then I usually just slip it back in the box like this, and that'll hold it nice and flat and steady for me while I climb back underneath there and get ready to take the old one out. Okay, as you can see, guys, it's still dripping a little tiny bit. There's so little left in there, it's really negligible. So in the essence of saving time, we'll go ahead and plug that baby back up. So just keep tight of it so you don't drop it down in that bucket and make a hell of a mess. Usually I just get it finger tight, as tight as I can. Wipe it off around there. Then we're going to snug it up with our ratchet. So set it for tight. Right is tight. And get it on there. Make sure you're in a place where you're not going to rack your knuckles if it slipped for some reason. And now remember, this thing gets stripped out so much, guys. So I just hold it here because otherwise it's going to want to wobble there. Just give it a little love. You don't need to crank it on there, you know, or strip it out. That'd cost you God knows how much money. So anyway, that's good. So now we're just going to move on to trying to twist that filter off of there. Hand's a little slippery. We'll see what we can do. Oh, there we go. Okay, now remember, if you need the wrench, just get it on an angle up here. Get it where you can get a good pull on it, and just give it a little twist. Just give it enough to move it, then get the filter wrench out of there, and that'll just be easier for you. And then finger it off. Same thing as before there. You're going to want to be quick with this, because see how it's starting to leak already? So I just get it loose like that, let it do its thing, wipe this off before it gets all over, running up and down my arm. So, and this is why you brought those extra rags underneath here with you. So when we do this next, we're going to spin it off as quick as we can and tip it upside down so it starts draining in there rather than all over us. Roll your sleeves up. It's definitely going to be messy. All right, here we go. Same thing as you go, it's going to lose a little more. All right, here we go. Keep it up and down, straight up as down as possible for you. And I just drain it all in there as much as I can. And here, I'm going to take my new filter out of there and set it over here real gently so I don't spill it. Because remember, it's got a lot of oil in it. It's not absolutely full, but it's got plenty in it. Then take this one, straight up, back and down, and keep that rag around her. Just slip it right in there. Okay, that should contain the mess a little. Just get that back out of my way. And what you want to always check for up here visually and with your fingers, guys, where it's coming out of there, is you got to make sure that your old rubber gasket here did not stay on the block. Okay, guys, so you see we're down to a real slow trickle there. That's not enough to cause any issues for anybody. So your fingers are probably a little slippery, so try to wipe them off the best you can. And we're just going to slip this baby up in there. Keep it up and down, because remember, you got oil in it, so it doesn't make a heck of a mess for you. And just kind of get her started. and snug it up with your hands. Now on these guys, get it as tight as you possibly can with your hand, okay? And then wipe it off and wipe your hands off. And this is only ever going to be as tight as you can get it with your hand, okay? But don't be a sissy about it. I mean, crank her on there, but do not use that filter wrench because you'll never get it off. Once the engine starts, it's going to create a vacuum and suck it up tight against there. I mean, I've had to put punches through the side of these and run a screwdriver actually all the way through one to get enough leverage to get it off before, because even when I used a filter wrench, all it did was collapse the filter. So hand tight. Definitely don't use the wrench. So you can use it, you can grab these on each side and just give them a good twist. Again, it's going to suck up real tight anyway. So then just wipe everything down, and not only just to keep your rig clean, but so you'll know when you do develop a leak, you'll know that you have a leak. You won't be saying, oh, maybe I was sloppy with the oil or whatever. So just wipe it all down. Plus, you don't want to leak it in your driveway or anything else. So you can see everything's clean and pretty. And there's also a chance when you're under here, guys, just kind of look around. I usually just look at my tranny pan, U-joints and things like that. Just make sure I don't have anything new leaking. So we know that everything's tight and secure. Double check always. So we know we did that. We know we did this. I'll just make sure it's wiped off on the back side there. And so we're good to go. So now all we got to do is put some oil in her. Okay, guys. So we got it down off the ramps, and now we just got to add the oil. So put this where you're not going to drop it down in there somewhere. And I've done a million of these without a funnel, but trust me, you don't want to do it. It'll just slop around and make a mess for you. If you pour it from the side like this, it'll let some air into the top there, and it won't come glugging out at you. It'll come out nice and smooth like this. It's nice that these come in a 5-quart size now, because this rig takes exactly 10 quarts, which is funny because, boy, you used to do an oil change on a small block Chevy with 5 quarts including the filter. Then I had a 2013 that took 6 quarts. And now we're up to 10 quarts for an oil change. And that's why they say you can go 7,000 or 8,000 miles in between, but I generally don't go that far. There you go, no drippy mess. And I'll grab that other one and we'll do the same thing. All right, so we got 10 quarts in there. All we're gonna do now is put the cap back on and fire this baby up. Then we'll double check for any leaks or anything, and record the mileage, and we should be good to go.